there, Justin Rosales here with Becoming the Iceman, and I thought today I'd bring you along on a journey. I'm going to do some training here, but in honor of the 10-year anniversary of Becoming the Iceman edition recently releasing, and look for that special emblem if you're trying to find it online. It's slowly releasing across the different stores, but in honor of this coming out with refreshed content, some added chapters, and removing a lot of the spelling and grammar errors that we had in there when we tried to rush it to give it to you as soon as possible, I thought, well, in the final chapter of the book, Wim and I went to Finland together. I did a 5k barefoot in the snow, and he did 10k barefoot in the snow. I'm like, 10 years later, I should go and do a 10k now, right? Barefoot in the snow. Well, here's the thing. Right now, it's 60 degrees, so there is no snow here, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. But I still need to do some training to get my body ready to be able to do a 10k barefoot in the snow. So in the meantime, I'm going to go and run a 10k barefoot or on concrete. So I thought I'd bring you along with the journey, kind of record it, and yeah, let's do that together. Well, let's run. So part of the reason why I decided to come out here to do some training on concrete is because when we did the 5 and 10k barefoot in the snow in Finland, it was ridiculous because it was I think it was around March, and we went on a frozen lake, and it had frozen over, and then it had not frozen over. Frozen over, not frozen over. And so when you walk on it, it's not snow. I mean, there's some snow, but it's like shards of ice. And so what we did is we strapped a plastic milk carton, we put it on the back of a snowmobile, and I would sit in it, and Wim would drive it around with his son, and then we would take turns flipping back and forth. And so I would sit on the back of the snowmobile, Wim would sit in the back, and we would try to basically smooth out the ice so that we would have a track to be able to run on. The problem was, it was not smooth. So we ended up doing the 5 and 10k bare feet in the snow, but our feet were actually cut up so bad that they swelled up like crazy. No frostbite, none of that, just blood blisters from the massive amount of pressure onto shards of ice. So this time around, going for the 10k bare feet in the snow, I don't want to do that. So I'm running on concrete to get my feet used to a kind of still rough surface to build up some calluses, not for the snow, but just in case the terrain, when the snow hits again, my feet are a little bit better prepared for sharper objects. But I think this concrete is also going to help me deal with some cold temperatures too, because concrete retains the cold really well. So on colder days, when you go for a run, in the book we talk about cold runs, concrete is a great surface to run on to be able to get your feet acclimatized to the cold, even if you don't have any snow around. So let's go back to running. I don't know about you, but I love me some soccer and some ultimate frisbee. This would be a great spot for it. 0.68 for now. Good to know. We need to get to 6.21 miles to be able to get to 10 kilometers. All right, so here's some transparency. I haven't ran in a while. I haven't ran a 5K in ages. Last time I ran a 10K, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. It's been a long time. But I don't know what I've developed, but whenever I'm running, I only breathe through my nose, and I let my pace align with that breathing. If I have to go faster than me being able to breathe through my nose and run comfortably, I slow down. I think it's one of the neat things about what the body and the mind can do, is that if you are you can adapt to certain conditions. If you had to run a 5K or a 10K, I feel like your mind and your body would find a way to make it happen. Now, I'm not super comfortable or super uncomfortable. It's just yep, I know I need to go run a 5K, then a 10K. And in my mind, it's I know it's gonna be 12, 13 laps around this thing here, and then I'm done. So it's breaking it down into pieces that your mind feel oh, it's not that bad, you know? It's what works for me. It's what worked for all of the Iceman stuff, and it works with any new challenge I want to take on. I recently took this test called the Working Genius, and if you haven't checked it out, it's brilliant. It basically says that there are 2 areas of genius that everybody has, 2 areas of competencies, things that you can do. They don't necessarily bring you joy or sap your joy. And then there's 2 areas of frustration. The 2 areas of frustration, if you live in that place, you're gonna burn out pretty quickly. But there's 2 areas of genius. If you do it, it'll fuel you for days, right? So I'm trying to find ways to operate more out of my genius areas. My 2 areas of genius right now, it says, are invention, just coming up with ideas, and discernment. feeling, like a gut feeling of whether or not it's a good idea. The two things that I'm not great at, galvanizing and, well, it's not necessarily not great. It's like things that sap your joy, right? They're areas of frustration. You might be able to do them and do them well because maybe you've had so many opportunities that you had to, and you had to, like, your success depended on whether or not you did well. So you had to like refine it and make it better, right? So my two areas of frustration that sap my joy, take away my joy, are tenacity, which is basically the follow through of projects, the completion. You get so much joy from actually completing the thing, and that's what drives you. And then galvanizing, communicating, inspiring people to take action. Those two things sap my joy. I can do them, but it takes a lot of my energy to make it happen. Here's another thing. StrengthsFinders, test assessment that you take, and it shows you your top 5 strengths, things that you excel at. Well, for me, in my top 5 strengths are achiever and belief. So for me, remember, tenacity is like the joy of completing things, driven to bring projects to completion, whether your own or others. For me, that saps my joy. Yet, achiever, achieving things, accomplishing things is one of my strengths. And so is belief. For me, the reason why I do it is because I feel called to do it, or like I have to be the one to do it. Otherwise, other people may not feel led to do so. And so it's like out of a kind of clench my jaw, and I'm just gonna have to fight through this to be able to make it happen so that other people could also feel like they could do it as well. So it's become a strength, but only because it's like out of that place of belief that I just feel inside of me, whether it's my soul, I'm a Christian, or so it's like my Holy Spirit. I just feel like God is prompting me to do things, and I want to be able to follow through on them. Hence, the Iceman thing. That was a big thing. If you read the 10th anniversary of the book, you'll see that that was a big reason for me rewriting it, and I addressed that pretty early on. Over 2/3 of the way there, I am like more sensitive right now to what my feet, my ankles, my calves are feeling. You know, I haven't really ran in a while. I didn't really stretch. Just felt like wanted to do it. So doing it. So now I'm kind of like taking everything that I'm feeling and trying to like be at peace, right? So there's that stress level and thoughts that start to elevate, thinking, oh, this is crazy, I'm not gonna be able to make it. So I'm just kind of trying to focus on, dang, you already went 2/3 of the way. You're almost there. Just keep going. And so now it's just like, all right, how do I still be peaceful in all of this? How can I stay tranquil? How can I keep pushing through? And it's more so I'm just listening to the audiobook, just trying to stay calm, which is pretty much everything that I learned with Becoming the Iceman. How do you continue to stay calm in stressful situations like the extreme cold? So that's what this is. Also, remember how one of my working geniuses are invention, discernment? Well, for me, I love to live in the invention world, the idea of what could be. Understanding people, understanding potential, possibilities. I love dreaming and coming up with stuff and seeing it come to action, right? But the challenge for me is that tenacity piece of the joy of coming from completion. And so, just being real with you, the 10-year anniversary edition, I started working on it year 1 after finishing the book. But I just kind of like let it sit there because the idea of sitting and writing again was so frustrating to me. I wanted to jump on to the next challenge, which at the time was synesthesia, which is the mixture of senses. So for example, some people will see color and hear sound, or hear sound and see colors at the same time. So here's something that was freeing for me when I took that StrengthsFinders test, the assessment by Clifton. It's called StrengthsFinders. It told me that my worst strength is consistency. These strengths are like competencies, things that you're great at. And it told me my worst strength was consistency, and that like hit me pretty hard because it's true. I will try stuff, I will come up with ideas, I will jump into the ideas, I will go like 100 and 200% to try to tackle something. But then there is the, hey, you're gonna do this every day for the next year. That's challenging for me because I love variety. I love trying new things. I don't want to like miss out on a new idea because remember, the invention gives me joy, and if I feel like it's a good idea, which is like that other working genius of discernment, I want to jump into it immediately. So I know it's easy to like label people like me. I know a lot of people that are like me, to say like, hey, they never get anything done. That's not always entirely true, because I think an invention can really bring to light a possibility. Now, here's the whole thing of the Working Genius. The Working Genius says that there are 6 areas of any project, of life, like different things that bring us joy. And it kind of goes in order. And especially if you're like on a team that is working toward completing a project or even a family. So there are 6 areas, right? So first area is wonder, W-O-N-D-E-R. It's wondering the possibilities of what, like, this isn't the best way that it could be, right? Something is broken, asking questions, is this really the best way to do it? Now, it's not necessarily coming up with the ideas. It's having an eye and getting a joy from seeing the things that aren't maximized to the fullest potential, and like being drawn to identifying those things. So like maybe if it is somebody that loves editing copy or books, like, hey, I can immediately see all of the errors that are in this, and that gives me joy to like go and try to like see all those things that could be fixed. Or looking at a system and saying like, hey, this is really broken. I don't think we're maximizing this opportunity, this, and this. Now, that's the first genius. The second genius is invention, which we talked about, coming up with ideas. So after something's broken, hey, what are all the different ways that we can actually fix this, right? So locking somebody in a room and say, hey, can you give us like 50 different ideas of how to do this? For a lot of people, well, for some people, sorry, I don't want to overgeneralize it. That is not necessarily energizing or giving joy, but for me it is. Then moving on, it's discernment. Now we have all the ideas. Which of these ideas do we feel like will be the most successful? Which ones do we want to tackle first? Which of these ideas do we feel like in our gut will be best? Not necessarily using like spiritual discernment or information on like using data to help make a decision, but more so like, you know, there's those people that always have like a pretty good knack or intuition of whether or not something's going to work. That's kind of what we're looking for here. So that's discernment. After that, great, we figured out the idea that we need to move on. Let's get somebody to galvanize. So the next genius is galvanizing. Those that can take the decision and communicate it to the masses in a way that inspires people to action. That is one of my frustrations. It's definitely not my genius. I could do it, but I don't love it. It does not give me joy. I know so many other people that are great at communicating and inspiring action and motivating. The next genius is enablement. Not like being an enabler, but somebody that is actually taking the action, the one that receives the communication of, hey, this is the idea. We need people to help make this come to life. That's the genius of enablement. Those that find joy in doing the task. Those that find joy in helping to move the thing forward. Or also being like a masterful encourager of other people that are doing it alongside you to move things forward. So it's either like doing the action or being in it and like encouraging, celebrating, bringing some gratitude to help continue to move the thing forward. Even using through like communication, doesn't necessarily have to be doing the task, but to continue to like be in the ranks and help move people forward, getting it done, right? Doesn't necessarily need to be through your hands, but it could be through others. That's the joy. Then the last one is tenacity, which we talked about a little bit already. The idea of getting joy from projects being completed. The joy of like being in med school and every test brings you so much joy when you complete it and do it well. Hitting goals, hitting metrics, bringing things to completion. So that's the idea of tenacity. And those are the 6 geniuses. Again, everybody has 2 geniuses that bring them joy, 2 geniuses that they're like, their competencies, they're pretty good at it. Doesn't necessarily give them joy or take away from it. But then there's these 2 areas of frustration, these 2 geniuses that do sap people's energy. And if they operate in that place for a while, they will be likely on the path to burning out. All right, I think I stepped on a pine needle just now. Just got it out, still good. My feet aren't that bad. I can show you them. Yeah, I guess I'll show you them. I don't know how well you can see it. They're not that bad so far. A little bit of chalk from the run. Maybe a little bit of wearing down from just running too, but overall it's not that bad. Right now we're at 5.29. We got 1 mile left to reach our 10K. Pretty exciting. Now here's the thing. I want to be able to do a 10K barefoot in the snow in under an hour. Right now it's showing 1 hour and 18 minutes. So I'm going to need to be able to pick up my pace. But at least my first challenge of getting to a 10K is done. Well, almost done. So for the most part, my feet are doing pretty well. This ground is pretty smooth. The nice thing about being around a track, it's pretty well maintained by whoever owns this track. So I know that they have soccer games, football games, lacrosse, all the stuff here. So they do a pretty good job of keeping it clean. So the other thing is, I'd love to hear from you. What is your genius out of the ones that I just explained? Maybe you've taken the Working Genius test. It's at workinggenius.com and you know yours. Or based on what I just shared, like, I would love to hear from you. Which things actually do energize you? Which ones sap your joy? Because here for me, remember I told you my 34th strength on StrengthsFinders was consistency? That hit me hard. Because it's like, yeah, I really don't really keep onto those things and do the same thing every day for a year. Because I want to jump into new ideas. That stuff energizes me. So here's the thing. It's my birthday recently. I received a voice memo. And one of my friends told me, hey Justin, I got to see you over the last 5 or 6 years. And one of the things that I appreciate about you is your consistency. It's always been different. You do different things, but you've always had the same consistency of character. Not necessarily in what you do, but who you are. And I gotta be honest with you, that really brought me some joy. That knowing I can go into each situation and people can expect the same Justin, man, that was the best compliment I probably received this year. So maybe that's you too. Like, maybe you're doing the Iceman thing, or maybe you're pursuing your own challenge and you feel a little frustrated because you haven't been able to stick with it. Or maybe it's all you can stick to and you can't focus on anything else. I just want you to know that could be a great thing. People ask me, hey, it's been 10 years since you published a book, since you've trained with Wim. Do you still do it? I mean, yeah, kind of, but not every day. I don't do the breathing every day. I don't do the cold training every day. What I do, I'm still the same Justin every day. So I've been taking the stuff that I learned into the new challenges that I face. For example, the breathing. Oh my gosh, I've faced so many crazy things over the years that breathing and being able to stay calm in crazy situations, the stuff that you develop from running in the cold, the stuff that you develop from facing freezing temperatures and being able to kind of tell your body to chill, no pun intended, but to like relax. And that stuff is game changing. And so I've been able to take those skills that I learned with Wim and move on to other things. And so now what I feel called to do, led to do, inspired to do is to take this idea of practice your passion and bring it to fruition. For example, what can you do to practice your passion? Each of us have geniuses, each of us have gifts, each of us are inspired by different things. Some people feel called to play soccer, some people feel called to draw, to be artists, to make music. Is that what you're passionate about? Then freaking do it. Don't just lock into one thing because everybody else is doing it. I mean, maybe that's how you can get started. That's how a lot of singers get started. They copy other people's voices, but then they eventually develop their own. Or maybe you just feel called to be an Elvis impersonator, and that's what you want to do. That's completely okay too. Copying other people can be a great thing too, because in our life, copy and paste doesn't ever work. There's still you at your core. And so there will always be a unique expression in everything you do. And so here's my project. 10 years later from Becoming the Iceman, I want to highlight people who are practicing their passion. Yes, I'll also show you ways that I'm practicing my passion. For example, I don't run a 10K every day. This is a random idea that I'm trying to bring to fruition because it's a 10-year anniversary of Becoming the Iceman, right? So why not? Let's do it. I don't feel success from doing this 10K run every single day. I feel it from doing it once and then moving on to the next challenge. Now for you, your challenge may be 10Ks every day, or to be able to break the world record for sitting in a tub full of ice, whatever it is for you. I just want to encourage you to practice your passion. Find ways to do it. Find ways to invest in the stuff that brings you joy every day, because that joy is going to drive us to honestly help change the world together. Wim pursued his joy and it led him to becoming known as the Iceman. 10 years ago when I met him, he was just on a random few Discovery Channel videos, some YouTube videos, but you probably have met him within the last 10 years, sometime after Becoming the Iceman was published, and saw him as a man of great wisdom, a man that has changed the world. Yes, more than 26 world records. He's helping to relieve people from mental illness, but it came from practicing his passion, because it didn't start there. Wim has been in the cold, oh my gosh, over 20, 30, 40 years, and only in the last 10 years have people actually been able to give him credit, share that his life's work has been changing people. So it was from him practicing his passion, and I want to ask you, what is your passion? What can you practice today that is going to inspire people tomorrow? You may not always be able to see the fruit immediately, but just trust that it'll work. Trust the process. All right, so let's see where we are in our run. All right, so it looks like my battery just died, which is great. Yep, it won't wake up anymore, but we are at 5.85 miles, 1 hour and almost 30 minutes. We're gonna keep doing this. We're almost there. Remember, we need to get to 6.21. Let's go. We are at 6.14 miles of our 10K barefoot, bare feet on concrete. Well done, team. We did it. 6.40. Remember, we needed 6.21 miles to be able to say that we did the 10K, and we did. 10K, bare feet in the snow. And here's the look at my feet. They're not that bad, not that cut up. Pretty good on this side too. Yeah, just some dirt. We did it. Well done. Hey, so here's one other thing. Becoming the Iceman, like I said, is out. 10th anniversary copy. Start to look around for it. I'm going to be recording an audiobook for it, so it's available on Audible. I am not a huge fan of reading nowadays. I love to listen while I drive, and so we'll be making that available for you too. But I would love to pick one of the people that are here today watching this video to give a copy to. I'll go ahead and sign it and send it your way. Just leave a comment, and within the next week of this being posted, at the same time that it's posted, I will pick a winner. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey together. Excited to see what we could do together. Excited to eventually take on a 10K barefoot in the snow together. Today we did the 10K barefoot on concrete. And I would love to hear your story. What are you doing? What's your passion? What are you pursuing? Is it Iceman related, or is it something else? All right, leave a comment. Let me know you watched. And within a week, same time this is being posted, I'll pick a winner. Send it your way. Take care.